Legit. Legal.
Sige. Kumusta ang newest toy mo ngayon?
Newest toy ko ngayon,
Di ba yun ba yung rack?
yung rack mount na bagay-bagay. Sabi nung isa kong kaibigan, mukha na raw akong sound system na nagdadala ng ampli. Pero...
Okay, talk me through that. What is the rack?
The rack is essentially, pwede ko ipakita dito.
Sige,
para may props ng
send mo na lang sa atin. Tapos ipapansak namin somewhere here.
Oo, correct. So yung rack, ito. Merong dalawang version siya. But essentially, ang gusto nating mangyari ay pag nag-setup tayo ng gamit, vertical siya. Nakakatipid ng space. Tapos, as much as possible, kung kayang nakasaksak na lahat at bubuksan na lang lahat ng equipment pagdating sa event, ganun gagawin. Pero nung tinetesting ko, hindi siya masasara kapag nasaksak lahat. So, essentially, I'm trying to solve time efficiency and space. Wag
Sige.
nasa loob.
So, essentially, ito ay isang buong live streaming rig, live broadcast rig for any type of sporting event, ideally.
Yes. Yun yung kumbaga yun yung dinadala namin parate. Nilagay ko lang siya vertically in a space.
I guess for those of you who do not know, this is Glen Lopez, one of the partners here at Livecast. He heads Upstream Sports TV. So, yun yung
Hindi lang tayo sporty.
Hindi,
mahilig tayo sa sports.
pero hindi. So, you may be wondering why is a sports guy on the Minsan podcast. Well, because he is one of the people that we regularly, who is part of the work that we do here. Ganun talaga.
Mahilig din naman ako sa music. Hindi lang tayo natuloy doon.
Ganun lang. Anong front of mind sa'yo ngayon? Parang ano yung, what's been on your mind na in and out na pinag-iisipan mo lately?
Lately, after ng Christmas holiday break, ng top of mind ko ngayon ay technically parang hindi pa nagsisimula yung season ko.
Okay. Kailan ba when does the normal sports calendar usually start?
Actually, nag-start na.
Okay.
Ano ba tinitingnan natin? Well, PBA resumption ng season. Philippines Football League tuloy-tuloy. I think more of the smaller tournaments, hindi pa naman nagsa-start, pero may mga nag-i-implement na. I guess it's important to think about the season as a starting point kasi yun din yung, kumbaga, mag-i-ignite ng lahat. Pag sinabi kasing, di ba, pag mga athletes, may mga off-season sila, medyo relax ng konti sa training, sa pagkain. But in our case, kasi parang pinaghahandaan natin yung next one. And pag nag-start yung season na yun, from what I realized last year, dire-diretso na siya. No? Kumbaga, kahit na may down months, pero dahil in season ka, hindi ka pwedeng tumigil sa ginagawa mo.
Sige. I think that's one thing na working with you for the past 2-3 years. If I were to introduce you to anyone who did not know you, I would say this guy lives and breathes sports broadcasting.
And entertainment.
Nanonood
ako ng random things, mga ganyan.
Diba? So parang, why do you think that is? Parang why do you think that's such a core part of who you are?
I would start with the origin story, pero hindi naman birthday. Parang gano'n.
Hindi naman to birthday mo nung 1980.
Yeah, nung taon na yun. It's more of, I found gaps. I used to shoot for gaps in the system, essentially.
Okay.
So,
gaps as in kulang.
Kulang, may
sistema.
problem, ganun. So, around, I think, 2018, 2017, I started shooting for Fabilio, which is Ateneo Sport Shooters. Tapos, I opted, of course, ang tawag dito, shiny thing yung pag-cover ng basketball kasi big talaga yung Ateneo Blue Eagles during that time. Daming following, even volleyball teams. And then I covered a lot of the non-mainstream. So, I was exposed to badminton. I tried to do swimming pero sobrang hirap ng scheduling. So, with that opportunity, parang ang battle cry kasi ng mga tao, ng mga bata, ng mga athletes, student athletes during that time, lagi namang basketball yung kino-cover, lagi namang volleyball, or minsan football din. So, I found that gap. And then, medyo emerging skill set sa akin during that time na mag-live stream. Although nauna ka sa akin in that sense. But like, bakit hindi natin subukan? So actually, ang first na crash course ko talaga, nakisaksak lang kami sa Rizal Memorial Stadium at mukhang muntik pa kaming mapadala ng demand letter. Nag-try kami mag-stream ng women's football.
Okay.
So, yun. Trinay namin, one game, tapos nalaman namin na parang
May rights pala
merong
involved.
rights pala, tapos meron palang sisita sa amin kahit walang nagsistream, mga ganun. So, eventually, we were given the opportunity to like, do other sports, at least yung football. Mas marami kasi exposure sa football. I was trying to become a full-time sports photographer. Pero nakakapagod pala siya. So dapat fit ka din as sports photographer kasi mabigat yung mga gamit. Ganun. So I tried, me being a different personality, I tried veering away from the normal. So sige, try natin live stream. Wala pa naman masyadong gumagawa.
And I guess that also, it also comes very close quarters to your attitude, I think, towards learning and just tech in general.
In general, mahilig talaga sa technology in general.
So I think yun nga, that's one of our most regular conversations would be me sending you, oy, may bago ako nakita, or you sending me, oy, naaral mo na ba to? Where do you think that comes from? That love of just figuring things out? Because I don't think people like us, I would say, are a rare breed. Yung talagang wala pa yung kaka-announce pa lang ng gamit, nanood ka na ng 3 or 4 na review tungkol doon.
Nagde-deep dive ka na agad, no? I'd like to think, at least sa family, I think my lolo sa father's side, engineer yata kasi siya. And my dad's technically a chemical engineer. So I guess yung natural curiosity to things, umabot sa point, and I think this will age me, date me at this point.
You just had a person who started a business at 57 years old.
Okay. So, wag natin isipin yun. But anyway, point being, na-imagine mo ba na mag-unzip ka ng files using a command line? Ganong
Hassle
level.
siya, pero kung kailangan, gagawin ko.
Pero ganong level yung exposure ko sa computers.
Okay.
Ganong,
DOS. As in DOS.
DOS talaga. As in, pick, unzip, tapos destination, blah, 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 ganyan. So, ever since talaga, nakasira pa ako ng CPU before. Ng literal na CPU, trinay kong linisin. Alam mo naman yung joke sa mga naglilinis ng computer, di ba? So, very natural for me. Dumating din sa point na bumibili ako ng DVD training sa Green Hills. Okay. Just because wala pa namang YouTube during that time.
Wala pang, I mean, it was either that or try to get a magazine shipped to you.
Na matagal, na hindi mo alam kung up-to-date pa siya. So, After Effects, Premiere, hardware hindi pa masyado kasi mahal. Pero mostly software. So eventually, nag-translate siya. Kasi wala kang choice Eventually, sasabihin sa'yo, bumili kang audio interface. Bumili ka ng controller, ng microphone.
Camera, whatever.
Mga ganun. Pero yung camera part, yung visual thing, dahil nagpo-photography naman din yung lolo ko, and I think something na naging inherent na lang din sa akin, na maging visual person in capturing things. No?
Pero interesting yun sa akin kasi kung engineering yung background ng dad and lolo mo, ikaw ay nanggaling sa fine arts. Diba? Yun yung course at, I remember for a while, you even taught
FA, sa FA.
Diba? How does that play, how did that happen?
To a certain extent, hindi talaga ako marunong mag-drawing.
Okay.
Wala talaga sa akin. Kaya akong gumamit ng technology. And at a certain point in time, parang na-realize ko na I would brand myself as a left-brain creative.
Okay.
Which is not, di ba, parang saliwa siya baliktad siya Because I try to, as much as possible, use logic. Or at least, hindi talaga ako parang magaling visually. Parang kaya ko lang siya maintindihan visually. Pero mas magaling pa rin ako mag-isip ng paano siya gawin. Okay. Parang gano'n.
And how does that play into, or what changed with your perspective about work in terms of doing those kinds of things? Na hindi naman siya, parang, yun nga, being a left-brain creative is, I guess, that's a very small niche. Do you think that plays a role in why sports broadcasting is so, I guess, so up your alley?
Paano natin tatawarin yun?
Kasi ako, nakikita ko na parang the design, you may not be making the designs, but you know, this information has to be presented in this way or this way. Parang dun ko siya nakikita. Is that how your mind works, especially in terms of storytelling and graphics, in terms of broadcasting?
Okay. So for the longest time, mahilig naman ako sa technology. And then, parang nag-try ako mag-After Effects. So eventually, parang nakikita ko, oy, bakit ganito? Parang very curious pa din na bakit ganun gumagalaw yung mga bagay-bagay. Paano siya nagwo-work? Paano siya nagwo-work na parang, meron bang operator dito? Ano yung software na ginamit nila? Ano yung hardware na ginamit nila dito? And I guess, siguro for the record, nung time na bata pa ako, tapos nanonood ng PBA yung tatay ko. Hindi ako nanonood. Ayoko na. Parang sa commercial daw ako nanonood. Pero eventually, parang mas na-embrace. It's a form of entertainment. I guess, hindi ko man mapipinpoint, pero parang umabot yata ako sa mga moments na, let's say, Super Bowl. Hindi ko na, di ba, kahit nasa Pilipinas tayo, nararamdaman mo yung hype about the Super Bowl.
Oo, kahit wala naman nanonood talaga ng American football
dito. Pero umabot sa point na parang, bakit ba ang laki ng event na to? Plus, bakit, ang tawag dito, hindi ko maintindihan kung ano yung first down, second down, third down. Eventually, naghanap ako ng YouTube video. Naintindihan ako kung paano siya nangyari. And hindi ko alam kung ganito yung timeline niya talaga. Pero if you're gonna connect it, Super Bowl, sa sports broadcasting, it's one of the pinnacle events.
It is.
It's one of the pillar events aside from the Olympics, aside from I guess pwede na nating hilera yung mga esports.
Like Worlds or mga TI.
Mga TI. But in this case, I guess I came across a video na how does the Super Bowl do the broadcast? Parang behind the scenes.
Iba pa to sa yung...
Ito yung The Verge na video.
Ito ba yung iba pa yun sa how the Super Bowl halftime show happens in 9 minutes?
Iba pa yun. Kasi yun, medyo mas
logistics,
events yun. Mas logistics yun.
Okay, so,
may video sa The Verge na in-explain, ganito yung back-end. Would you know, for all we know, ang number ng replay operators during a Super Bowl is 14.
14?
Kasi for every 4 cameras, merong isa na replay op.
So that means they have...
Times 4.
52. 56.
Parang ganon.
56 cameras?
Roughly, kung hindi 14, 10. 10 hanggang 14.
So yun.
Parang ganon. So,
what do you do with 40 cameras?
Maraming angles, replays, tapos review.
Parang I'm, in my head, nilalapat ko siya, parang 12, ang dami na nun. Baka 16.
May dalawa kang coach, meron kang dalawang superstar, baka nasa bench or na, baka ganun yung plano.
Okay.
No. So,
anyway,
nung nalaman ko yun, okay, ganito pala yung mundo na to. Parang pwede nating subukan dito. And then, mabilis ko na-realize na mahirap pala yun. Well, hindi pala. Number 1, magastos pala yun. Magastos siya. So, kumbaga, kung tatahi ko yung story, eventually, I actually borrowed money from a friend na bumili ako ng ATEM na
switcher?
Yung switcher, yung unang television studio HD. Kasi ang mahal ng VMix tsaka computer. Sige, try natin yung hardware, baka mas mura yun. Mas magastos pa.
Both paths magastos.
Magastos siya. So very very curious pa din kung paano siya ginagawa.
So I guess that's another thing na people should know about you, which is, kumbaga, if you wanna get to know Glen more, the one way to do that is to pique his curiosity. Tama ba yun?
Tama. And it's important for me to... I become a super fan, but unfortunately, it's parang think of a K-pop fan, pero nanonood, pero pang sports broadcast or technical things. Parang ganun.
And is that why you always think na, okay, how can we make things better? How can we try new technologies into every broadcast at the very least?
Very natural yun sa akin. I came from a background ng events din. Even ever since high school, nag-events na ako under,
CFC?
working
Tama
with CFC Youth for Christ. Even for CFC events, yung Couples for Christ. Kapag may big event, nag-volunteer ako, ganyan. So, every year, because it's an annual thing, you can easily ask, what did we do last year and what can we do next
better.
year na bago? Actually bago, not even better, bago. So a couple of quote-unquote innovations that I did or I tried to do for the community. Nung hindi pa uso yung mga, di ba, pag may LED wall ka or may projector ka, minsan wide shot ka lang. Eventually, you put up, you animate something as a screensaver, as a logo animation.
Pwedeng i-loop na yun.
Naka-loop
Dating
na yun. Maganda na siya tingnan, di ba? Adds to the production value. Eventually, I also, nung nag-uuso pa lang yung mga SDE, one-person team, trinay ko mag-next day edit. Kasi hindi ko naman kaya mag-same day edit. Next day edit, merong highlights of the day before. And then may video.
Papakita mo
lang
the
din.
next day. Kumbaga.
Mga ganun. So, it's that kind of mindset na I'm sure we share that idea na ano yung nagawa natin na maayos last time, na ano yung bago from last time, ano ulit yung bago natin gagawin this time on a technical basis or on a presentation basis altogether. No? So, yeah.
Sige, sorry. 1 minute lang. Pasagot to. Okay lang yun. Yeah, ako na magkakat. May magre-rent ng 2 C-stand. Pasagot na lang dyan. Hindi, okay na. Gawin.
Ako pupunta.
Anong gagawin mo? Kami na.
Kami na.
Jelu, pwedeng paano na lang. 2 C-stand, patulong na lang. Kunin mo yung number dyan.
2 C-stand.
Ikakat ko na lang yan. Ito lang yung nakakainis. Kasi nandyan na yan eh. Okay lang, sige. So, leading into that, I guess, one of the... It's always...
Pwede kang dugtungan pala. Para
go lang.
Because of that, when you're a bit more hyper aware, you try to dissect things. No, dumating sa point na nung pandemic, MLBB, hindi talaga wala pa akong broadcast background in terms of like esports. Curious talaga ako. Dumating sa point na nilista ko lahat ng cues ng isang MLBB broadcast.
By cues, you mean, okay, let's say nasa wide shot sila. Okay,
nag-switch. Actually, ad break.
Ad break.
Ad break, ano yung ads na yon? Tapos babalik sa casters, halimbawa, mag-uusapan nila yung past na game.
Kumbaga, trinay mong i-recreate yung program nila.
Nilista ko yun lahat. Ang dami, haba nung naging listahan ko. Tapos pinost ko yun sa Facebook. So may nagulat na,
sira ulo to.
Sira ang pinagagawa nito. Diba? Parang ganun. So, ganong level. Ganong ka-curious. Now, hindi na ako pwedeng pumunta ng event na hindi ko naiisip na nagka-countdown na ba sila for broadcast.
Parang may nagli-lead din na ba dito? Ganun. So, okay. I think, yun nga, parang it's always something na you're always trying to reverse engineer something at the very least.
At the very least.
And I think that also comes from your experience na hindi ka nang galing sa big network where you would have
sa DIY.
Nanggaling tayo sa DIY. And I guess that's always something na babalik-balikan mo na, okay, na-DIY ko naman to. Let's DIY it up to the next level, next level until you're DIYing at the network broadcast level.
So, nare-realize mo na parehas lang pala yung ginagawa nyo. It's just that they have the vocabulary for it, they have the team structure for it, they have the budget for it. Pero same lang kayo ng ginagawa.
I think that's one thing rin na most people don't realize na to put up a good broadcast or event, it's, I guess, because of the pandemic, there are a lot of people who went into live streaming.
Yes.
But the difference between a passable and a great live stream is rooted in both the workflow and the equipment. Hindi lang siya parang, okay, maganda yung camera mo, maganda yung capture card mo, okay ka na. Diba? Parang, it's also in the people that work behind it. Just the simple having one person doing replays or one person doing graphics as opposed to being a one-man show. That will be the difference between you being able to switch cameras while someone else is creating the graphic that you need.
Yes. Actually, nung nagsa-start ako, parang daming taong involved. Yun yung sabi ko, nung nanonood ako ng behind the scenes. Parang daming taong involved
kaya
masyado.
Naman siya parang kaya naman doon ng isang tao. Yun yung feeling.
And
parate,
yun
diba?
doon nanggagaling yung parang pagiging curious ko. Na, I mean, parang ang introduction ko na sa mga tao, I'm an enthusiastic button pusher. Which is a bad
bad way. Kumbaga, that's describe your job badly.
Badly. Enthusiastic button pusher. Pero in reality, and this is how I justify my being a one-man operation. If you know the design of your program, which is the storytelling aspect, if you know how do you want your program to flow, and if you understand also your dead airs and the parts where you can push in, let's say, ads, or basta yung program flow mo, you don't have to have many people. Now, my mindset there is, you need more people because you're trying to solve many problems closer to the deadline. Meaning, okay, kailangan mag-edit ng graphics. Lagay ka isang tao. Kailangan ng
Nag-update ng stats.
Tag-update ng stats. Lagay ka ng isang tao. Kailangan ko ng camera operators. Kailangan, marami talaga. There used to be a time na ako rin yung cam op. Ganong habang nagboboton. Just because I designed my workflow to be a one-man operation. No. So, na-realize ko, pag mas marami kang tao na tinatapon para ma-solve yung problema, it's because somehow there are people or there's a certain situation na wala pang decision. But if you're able to direct everything, and ito yung gagawin natin at wala nang gagalaw doon, hindi mo kailangan na ibang tao. Ganun siya.
But I guess that's something na we sometimes disagree on, which is the idea wherein, do you want to go fast or do you want to go far?
Correct.
So my ideology is always, parang I want to go far. But sometimes you cannot do that. You need to go fast in a sports broadcast.
Yes.
Kumbaga, hindi mo pwedeng antayin hindi naman pwedeng mag-wait yung ref ops. Ready na ba yung broadcast? Bago tayo mag-ano?
Uy, pwede. Nangyari yan sa UAP.
Sa UAP.
Sa FD. FD ang nagsasabi. Floor director.
Pero kumbaga, in most cases, they will not wait for a broadcast.
No, they will not wait for a broadcast. So, they will play the game. Well, depende pa rin.
If it's a stream first or an on-ground event first.
Which is a discussion. I think a lot of organizers don't understand na may stream first tsaka may broadcast. May on-ground first. I don't think the NBA starts their will inbound the game, will inbound the ball kapag naka-ads pa sila or something. But I have a feeling kasi that they're so structured that if they say it's a 30-second timeout, meron na silang flow for it and alam nilang babalik dun sa inbound ng bola pagkatapos ng ad na yun or nung timeout na yun.
One thing I think that correct me if I'm wrong in this ideology, pero I see that you want to level it up primarily, one, because you want to make things better, but the end goal of that isn't necessarily for you. It's for, I see, even with the CFC, it was for the community.
Yes,
it wasn't for you.
No, it wasn't for me. Well, it becomes a justification to buy the new toys. But of course, it will always be for whoever,
who you're serving.
Who we are serving. Diba? It's essentially still communication.
Okay.
It is entertainment at that. The information part, siguro baka less. I think, if you think about sports, at its core, it is entertainment.
Okay.
It is communication. It is communicating, and I think it's also a marketing concept. It's, ang marketing is the transfer of excitement. So how do you make sure that you transfer that excitement from the game to
Which
the
they
people?
cannot physically be there.
Yeah, from the game to the people, or to your fans, or to the other players, diba? To the people who's watching the game. But And in that respect, iniisip ko na siya na parang aside from transferring that excitement, it's also that general experience already of what is actually being presented to you as both the broadcaster and also a storyteller. No, hindi na lang siya, nanggagaling kasi tayo sa technical aspect niya. But we both agree that if the technical becomes invisible, we're able to tell the stories better or faster or meron na masasabi na kwento, di ba?
Tapos yung isang naisip ko nga is, if you understand who you're serving, and I know you're a very big advocate of this, is that you should, as a broadcaster or even just as an organizer, you should be working with communities. You should be working grassroots initiatives.
Yes.
And not just be thinking of okay, nagpapatakbo kami ng tournament, tapos maganda na lahat. Pero at the end of the day, that doesn't matter if no one's watching, or
Yes.
if your sport isn't growing, or you're not able to share that excitement with people who can make that community flourish.
You know what's interesting with what you just said? Those are actually all KPIs. Like key performance indicators. Like if you are going to quantify those, parang I think one of the recent videos na napanood ko is that if when you're broadcasting or when you're live streaming or esports pala, when you're doing the broadcast or live stream, there needs to be KPIs. It's not just did you get 100 viewers, concurrent viewers. It's not just anong tawag dito? It's not just okay,
what's
naka
their
10,000
average-
views lang tayo.
average watch
views,
time, ganun.
Kumbaga, it's more than that. And in a way, the features that you put in during your broadcast are also your objectives on what you communicate. No.
Okay.
So, kumbaga
How does that translate in practical terms?
halimbawa lang, it's not something, it's in the back of my head for the longest time. Like, for example, if we have a new sport on Upstream Sports TV, there should always be a feature. There should always be an explanation of what the sport is. So, for example, because you're trying to transfer the excitement to other people.
Why should I be excited about
Frisbee, halimbawa, Frisbee. Do you know what a
Ultimate.
sky battle is?
I have
Do you
no
know
idea.
what a layout is? Those are very specific terms. No? A sky battle is between two people catching the disc na mataas.
Okay.
It's athletic. It's entertaining.
I think it's one of the most exciting parts
Yes,
of Frisbee, Ultimate Frisbee.
Ultimate Frisbee. Or,
match.
a layout is yung parang nagda-dive sila para habulin yung disc.
Okay.
So, there are times na kunwari nag-dive sila, tapos hindi nila nasalon, napataas nila konti, tapos nasalon nila ulit. That's very exciting. And that's your objective. You have to explain. You have
Why?
to tell people ano yung exciting dun sa pinapanood mo.
But you don't say na parang, uy, exciting to
Well, depende. Kung may caster ka, pwede mo gawin yan. But you will notice naman kapag tumataas yung boses ng commentator or I think it's very difficult. When we tried to do swimming, kwento ko lang, we quickly realized na there are 8 lanes in a swimming pool. More often than not, hindi pala sila magkakalaban.
Okay. So,
Ang magkakalaban pala yung magkaka-age group na hindi sila nag-swim sabay-sabay.
okay. If knowing that, I would probably change how that tournament is run.
If you can.
If you can, di ba?
If
Na
you
parang, ba't di mo na lang ipaglaban para at least mas may kwento ka?
So, turns out, at least dun sa kinover namin na tournament, the mornings are the qualifiers for
Okay.
all the age groups and for all the swimmers. In the afternoon or evening, there's what's called an open, parang the finals, open finals. So, the top 8, regardless of your age group, the top 8 times will actually swim in the afternoon. And then yun na yung magkaka-head-to-head na sila.
Doon pa lang.
Doon pa lang
So
sila
in terms of storytelling, ang tagal ng payoff nun. How do you build off?
If you can.
If you can even
if you-
build a story to lead up to that. diba?
Yes, oo. So, kumbaga, I think this is something that we want to fill in the gap this year, is really try to build those storylines if there will be a clear ending to it. Kasi pwede namang, time trial, concept ng time trial, di ba? Who is the, parang fastest time wins. Pero kung hindi mo katabi yung mga ka-age group mo,
Walang kwenta yun.
hindi mo makakwento
Hindi
yung...
mo or mas mahirap ikwento yun unless you're able to put their replay side by side with the
which is
other
a lot
one.
of data. And, so, kumbaga, merong challenges na ganun because not all sports are actually broadcast ready. I mean, locally at least, or yung sports competitions, hindi siya formatted towards something na nagbe-build up. Within the community, they understand what's happening. Kasi yung oras lang naman titingnan nila. But if you're an outsider looking in, parang, ano nangyari? Bakit natapos na yung takbo? Yung pala, hindi pala sila yung magkalaban dun. No? Which happened for speed skating. So, yung pala may tinatawag na 2 heat. So, there are, kunwari, 10 competitors. They are divided into 2 heats, 5 each. Pero not necessarily, kapag nanalo ka sa heat na to, you're the winner to everything.
Okay.
Yung pala, ikaw lang yung fastest sa heat na to, pero pwedeng may mas mabilis sa heat 2. Siya yung panalo.
Okay.
Parang ganun siya.
Kumbaga, para siyang 10 talaga kayo nag-race, pero 5 at a time lang kayo.
Kasi 5 lang yung kasha doon. 5 lang kasha doon sa ring mismo.
A theme that seems to be recurring is making it accessible to the outsider.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's important? Why can't you just stick to that community?
It's the same thing as me as a broadcaster or at least someone who works in this field. Hindi pa nagsisimula yung project, nanonood na ako ng yung the highest level streams or broadcast. No? If you're not able to transcend your community, hindi naman kayo dadami. Hindi ka naman magkakaroon ng fans. Di ba? And I think it's very important right now to understand, in this economy, who holds the attention is the one that will earn or at least make it sustainable for you. Unfortunately, there are lots of content right now. Kung babalik ako dun, if you're not able to transfer the excitement, well, aside from within the community, don't expect that you can actually grow an audience. And I think yun naman yung gusto ng mga tao eh. Parang, kailan ba tayo magkakaroon ng professional league for certain things? Diba? May volleyball, it's sustainable kasi madaming nanonood. Basketball, very common because it's culturally there. Baseball, actually meron tayong baseball league, but it's very serving mostly on the community because they're the ones who understand what's happening. And sila rin naman yung magkakakalala. But if you're not able to transcend that, then hindi pa rin. But ito chicken and egg problem siya. You have to run the league first before you can tell the story. Which is an entirely different financial problem, so to speak. Kasi sports is recreational. Di ba? I mean, baka makancel ako. I mean, sports is not business. Like, you're running a store. But sports is nagpapagaling ka, nagpapalakas ka, nagpapabilis ka. But it doesn't necessarily translate to sales. Parang ganun, di ba?
Sige. With that in mind then, how do you see emerging sports growing? Or at least, what would be a good strategy or roadmap for these sports outside? And what can we learn from emerging sports outside of the Philippines that we can apply?
I think, at the very least, dumarating kasi sa point na pag walang content, parang you're non-existent eh.
Okay. Diba? Parang if yun yung sinasabi nilang, kung hindi pinost, hindi nangyari.
If the tree falls something fell in the forest, parang
but no one heard it. Did it fall?
Did it really fall? Parang ganun. So, parang yun yung mindset. Before ka pa umabot sa storytelling aspect, parang kailangan makover mo muna siya or mangyari muna siya, di ba? I think mindset-wise, it's important to just make sure there's a cover. Yun yung baseline. Ma-cover muna siya. Covering it good is another layer. But of course, you wanna start there. Parang you have to have a good live stream. Ayaw mo nang naglalag. Ito yung technical aspect. Ayaw mo nang naglalag. Ayaw mong hindi sync yung timer. Ayaw mong mali yung score dun sa screen. Ayaw mong mali yung spelling ng team or mali yung logo, di ba? So, nagagalit. Very passionate ang mga tao dun.
Fans. I'm sure. Fans.
Passionate.
Fans talaga sila.
But, if they're not able to let it be known to other people, na excited sila towards that moment or galit sila towards that moment, hindi kayo dadami as fans. Parang gano'n. And I think I will answer it this way. Meron akong parang framework before. Cycle siya eh. Look at the top level athletes first. The Olympians or the professionals or the highest level athletes can win, can compete, and then they can inspire
semi-pro
or whoever is playing, which develops your grassroots, which will develop. Baliktad pala. Highest level athletes will inspire the grassroots, will inspire more competition that will create more higher level athletes, which is a cycle. Now, how do you inspire the grassroots? If they're not able to see how you compete, walang kwento. 'di ba? Walang kwento, walang kwenta in such a way. No?
Okay.
So medyo
I think yun. Kumbaga, for anything, walang kwento, walang kwenta.
walang kwenta, walang kwenta.
Ganun lang kasimple. I wanna understand rin from a person who is admittedly not sporty. Diba? Bakit sports? Parang, I think yung pinaka-common na dyan is, we both love esports. Diba?
Yes.
Parang ganun. Pero, I see you more on, kumbaga, in the trenches with actual sports more than esports. Why do you think doon napunta? Na parang, ba't mo mahal ang sports talaga?
Bakit? Well, it's entertaining. I think it feeds my mind a lot. I'm not a journalist. I will start there. I'm not a journalist. I cannot follow storylines very well. That's why I appreciate kapag may nagkikwento sa akin. Kasi you have to understand. I mean, transfer of excitement. But then, I think yun na yung answer. I like it because it's entertainment. And it's the kind of entertainment that makes me think, how can we mimic this? Or how can we make it better towards, or make it better for other people?
How can I transfer the same excitement I'm feeling to someone I don't even know through a YouTube screen?
Through a YouTube screen, or even, because we're working in events, through the activation or the actual event that you are experiencing. Can you imagine if you can implement the same walk-ins na nag-i-intro, even esports, di ba? Parang mid laner, faker, tapos papasok siya, tapos the crowd goes wild, di ba? It's that kind of excitement ng fans na kapag na-translate, pag na-develop mo yung experience na yon, people will yearn for more. Di ba? Even, I think I will I will use this as an opportunity na parang during your finals, just do your sports, during your finals for a tournament, even if pagod na yung mga tao, you put in a bit more hype. You introduce the players properly. Ang tawag dito, even before you do anything, parang put in walk-in music. Yung entertainment aspect, nandun pa din siya. Diba? So, I think that's the missed opportunity. But, of course, again, being very cognizant of the fact that organizing a tournament is difficult. A sports event is difficult as it is. But you have to have that entertainment aspect so that you can hook your audience better or more or something along those lines.
Sige. I wanna touch on one thing first, na parang I wanna say over the past 6 months to a year, napadpad naman ako sa something that you would find probably, most people would find boring. Pero na-transfer sa akin yung excitement, which is chess. Parang, and what I find engaging, what I find engaging, I guess, is one, they're able to tell storylines really well. Because in the world, I think there are only about 20 to 25 people
Na GM? Ito ba yung mga GM? Or
super
maraming
GMs.
Super GMs.
Yung, kumbaga, the cream of the crop. Sila yung, kumbaga, sila yung usual suspect when it comes to, let's say, when you find the top 8, top 5, sila lang yung parati mo nakikita. And then the next...
Which is, sorry, touch ko lang yung framework natin kanina. You are following the top 8.
I'm following the top 8, which lets me figure out, the next 16.
Kung sino yung kasunod.
I'm not at the level na I wanna go actually play chess, but it's more of, I like these storylines. And even the hype, kasi they implemented, because of chess engines, you're able to see an evaluation bar. So the hype of one person making a wrong or right move and the evaluation bar, which essentially gives you a probability of the person winning, na makita mo yung swing lang na
parang
ganun.
AWS recursion things na to. Okay.
Parang yung sobrang simple na, shit, nagkamali siya. Sobrang na to, posibleng mangyari to, or parang and that parang, and it's just literally, if you're looking at it objectively, it's just one chess move. One chess move lang. And what could be so boring, but the addition of like
insights
of that simple eval bar and the insight of possibly another GM commentating the game makes it so much more, yun nga, the transfer of excitement becomes so much easier. And I think, yun nga, having that kind of production value allows you to get more people into the sport, diba?
Yes. Get into fandom or trying out the sport.
And I guess one thing, yun nga, you touched on, I guess, a subject that we often hit roadblocks on, which is, kumbaga, ang mahal ng ano eh. Ang mahal ng sports.
Broadcast.
I want to talk more about other initiatives that we've been doing and I guess successful initiatives that we've been doing to help mitigate that cost. I think one of those successful ones would be with the PSU.
PHSU?
Yung skating union. Diba? Parang what can organizers do and how can we work with organizers para hindi ganun kasakit yung cost? Or at the very least, you can even make money out of some of the initiatives that I know you've been trying to do.
Okay. Well, during our first year, like the first complete year after, quote unquote, after the pandemic, we did a lot of investments in time, investments in effort to produce, investments in, of course, money so that we can pay the people that we are working
Hindi
with.
tayo nagpapa-free tayo? O hindi tayo bayad?
Hindi tayo bayad.
Pero lahat ng nagtatrabaho sa atin, bayad.
Babayaran natin.
At bayad ng tamang oras.
So, kumbaga, the first phase, I'll answer it this way. The first phase will always be free. Free because we haven't worked with an organizer, like for example, the skating union. Before. But also because it becomes our learning aspect. It becomes, parang, bakit ka mag-charge? First time natin, bakit tayo mag-charge? Per se. So it's a win-win. May content yung organizer or National Sports Association. Meron ding learnings on our end. At nag-i-improve tayo. Nagkakaroon din tayong portfolio. That's the first layer. The second layer, and I think medyo iba yung sagot ko dun sa probably na-expect mo in your head. When most of the sports tournaments are actually annual, what we're trying to aim for is to become, of course, the go-to supplier. But more importantly, dahil natikman na nila na merong live stream, they will look for it the next time around. And it becomes a non-negotiable. On the side, parang 2.5 is that there are certain ways na we have to be sustainable as well. We have to pay people. But in that sense, of course, number one, we have to, parang ang kapalit, it's very common naman sa sports na may broadcast rights. For bigger events, the broadcasters actually pay the NSA, whoever, the marketing person,
the
organizer essentially, to get the exclusive rights to get the sport.
So this is essentially me paying the organizer na, okay lang ba i-live stream ko to? Try kong pagkakitaan yung live stream na gagawin ko.
Hindi, pagkakakitaan ko yung live stream na to dahil binayaran kita, kailangan kong makuha ko yung pera ulit.
Okay.
Yun yung sugal mo. Kumbaga, yun yung gamble mo. But because there's not a lot of money in all the emerging sports, in place of the cost for production, it becomes our content. Which is, if you're watching from Minsan Studio, a lot of the gigs are actually documented, and it became content for
both the artist and
the
Minsan.
artist and Minsan. In this sense, parehas. Now, you also have, because these things are annual, you now have an archive of what happened the previous year. You have all the content that you can do. And this is something that you always challenge me. Matrabaho talaga siya. The micro-content is actually where you can transfer the excitement. So, for example, sino ba yung naka-gold sa men's division ng open division ng skating? Now, you will try to answer that by uploading a video of that performance.
Instead of just saying, oh, siya to.
Oo, 'di ba? Hindi mo na lang
Hindi naman
ina-announce.
hindi exciting ang text lang eh. Exciting yung
Nakita mo yung run, 'di ba?
Oo.
Nakita mo yung run. I mean, for lack of a better term, I think we're lucky that we were able to see Carlos Yulo's performances. Pero before, hindi natin naaabutan, 'di ba? Hindi natin nakikita. So, it's the role of the broadcaster. Role, but also it's the gastos of the broadcaster. We're able also to recuperate or at least cover some of our production expenses by tawag dito, essentially doing a rev share. Ang tawag dito, what's a rev share?
Rev share, essentially,
revenue share. Revenue share. So,
kumbaga, imbis na ako lang ang kikita, paghatian na lang natin.
Hati tayo. So when we do a rev share, I think fortunate for skating, because the parents, these are like parents talaga. They want a copy of their performance. Aside from the parents, they also use that to review, which is an importance
Specific
of
to that
game.
sport, I think.
Actually, everyone naman. Parang it's a way to review.
Oy, dito maganda yung performance. I did this wrong, I did this right,
and
so
then
on.
gagamitin for
the
to
next
improve
performance.
for the next one. No, so if you're able to do that, and the numbers make sense, but of course on our end, minsan talaga may investment pa rin to make it sustainable. That's why we have our other initiatives as well. We try to do that, yung rev share na mismo. Honestly, monetization on channels and platforms, it's very small.
Wala yan. Makakabili ka ng isang meal ng KFC every 3 months.
6 months.
6 months pala.
6 months on our end. Or even pambayad ko ng load ng internet kapag nasa lugar na. Hindi talaga siya. Hindi siya nagtutugma.
So it's monetization through the platform isn't there yet.
Yes.
But
yeah. Ang hirap lang kasi, I mean, not to be ranty about it, pero it becomes a bit one challenge is that sports, madaling magnakaw ng content. No, so pag nanakawan tayo ng content, parang, oh my God, hassle naman. Kami na nga nag-shoot, iba pa yung kumita, iba pa yung makikinabang, di ba? Nasa storylines naman yan ng mga blank, tawag dito, ginulay ang munggo. Yung mga ganong klase ng video, di ba? So,
okay lang.
pero, labas naman na tayo doon kasi emerging sports pa lang tayo.
Okay lang yan. I guess yun nga, it also doesn't help the community when you do that.
Yes. Yes.
So, ito naman, I think it's very clear how you're able to help other people. It's just really just through broadcasting those emerging sports. Because I think in the same way that I believe in the Filipino musician and you believe in the Filipino athlete, how do you think others can help you naman? I think what does Upstream Sports need? How can we make it better?
Please play our production fees.
Please pay our production fees.
Please pay for our production fees. I mean, it's not free. We're not even charging for innovation. And for the longest time, I think during the first few years na nagwo-work tayo, tinatry natin i-line item lahat ng gastos natin.
But at the end of the
eventually,
day,
it didn't work. Masyadong malaki yung gastos and hindi talaga siya afford ng mga tao, ng mga organizers. But the good thing about it is, again, we're pushing towards other initiatives which fuels this one. But also, it's very happy to know. Hindi ko muna masasagot yung question mo. It's very happy to learn that whenever the regional events pass by, parang tayo yung nagiging top of mind. Yung not just the channel, but like
the team,
the production team. Kasi at the end of the day, supplier pa rin naman tayo, di ba? We're a production team pa rin. Totoo naman yun. How can other people help us? Please pay for our production fees, but also parang tell us. We always need an ear on the ground because we have 2 ears. Your ears are definitely on the music side. It's difficult to follow all the sports. Especially, sometimes it's just happening this weekend. Nanalo pala yung, ano ba yung last na nanalo? Yung women's lacrosse team. Nanalo sila sa Australia na lalaban sila sa World Lacrosse Championships. If I'm saying the tournament events correctly. No? So, that's a very feasible way and keep introducing us No, I
To
think
other emerging
to
sports.
other emerging sports, they might not think that they are emerging, but I don't. Parang definition-wise, if you don't have your professional league yet or your highest parang commercial league, baka hindi pa nga siya. Baka emerging sport pa siya.
I
at
guess
this
another
point.
way I see other people can help out Upstream is if at any point you're interested in all of the geeky, nerdy stuff that Glenn is talking about, reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out to us because we're always looking for. We can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Yun nga. I mean, no, may mga araw na pipili ni Glenn mag-isa, pero hindi niya kaya mag-cover ng dalawang events na mag-isa. Kailangan natin ng
Kailangan natin kakampi.
kailangan natin ng kakampi. I think yun.
You know what's although people are already busy learning and improving in this sport, I think one of my dreams when we do our coverages is that there are also volunteers within the community so that they can also be exposed to the media side or the production side.
Kasi I don't think you're looking at it as baka maging competitor to. Hindi eh.
Hindi,
Kasi
hindi.
at the end of the day,
merong mga tao na ganun yung objective nila.
but I mean, at the end of the day kasi, it will always be, who do you want to serve? Parang, if that's how everyone is thinking, the sport will never grow.
Yeah.
Diba?
And yeah, we've had our fair share of emerging competitors as well. But I'd like to think, ibubuhatin natin yung sarili nating bangko. Because we do this as a day job, so to speak. I'd like to think that we're literally yung position natin kasi sa market, we're not a TV station. We're not an entry level. We know our...
And I guess to bolster lang that idea, we've worked with international tournament organizers.
Not fly, but like we've worked with...
When they come here,
but we've also worked with people who check the quality of the work internationally because they have to deliver it in other countries as well.
So, it's... When we say world-class, hindi siya sabi-sabi lang. We work with internationals. One thing most people may not know is that Glenn reads a lot of white papers from international broadcasters.
Nandun na rin ako sa level na yun. No?
So that's the kind of person you're getting when you work with Upstream Sports. I guess one last thing, a couple of things lang I want to ask is, what's one piece of learning that's specific to sports broadcasting that you think would be useful for anyone to learn, even if they're not in that field?
I think in general, pinag-isipan ko yun habang naglalakad papunta rito. Trash in, trash out.
Tito, I've said that before.
Trash in, trash out. You can make the trash beautiful, sound good,
Pero basura pa rin yun.
basura pa din siya. So always
On a practical level, what does that look like?
So, ano ba itsura? Kung basura yung kinuna. Joke lang. Tawag dito. Hindi. Okay, muntik na ako magsabi ng very controversial thing. Kapag pag hindi malinaw yung images mo, pag out of focus, kapag maalog yung tripod na gamit mo, kapag yung audio mo naririnig yung camera operator na nakikipagkwentuhan dun sa katabi niya, that's essentially not acceptable. That's trash. That's not world class. That's not even TV level. Parang you will, even if you're not doing TV, you always aspire to look like, sound like, and feel like you're watching TV. You're watching something that is polished. You cannot, which is going back to trash in, trash out. Even if you polish it very well, if it's trash, it's trash.
I guess adding to that, one philosophy that I think we've always tried to do is the concept of, I don't know if you're familiar with this, the concept of your worst show. Meaning, make the difference between your best performance and your worst performance
Yung average mo.
so small. So that even when you feel na sobrang pangit yung ginawa mo,
Mataas pa rin yung
ang ganda
threshold.
pa rin nun sa
Maganda.
ibang tao. And that's from a comedian, I think, Louis C.K. So if you look, the number of repetitions, the number of refining his comedy act is so good that when he feels he bombed,
Mataas pa rin.
sobrang galing niya pa rin. And I think that's what that's an underlying principle, or at least a side-by-side principle with Tito, na parang gawin mo na, Tito, trash in, trash out, na parang kahit sobrang pangit yung feeling natin,
Parang basic.
yung pasado sa atin ay hindi 60. Ang pasado ng grade sa atin ay 90. 'Di ba? Para kahit feeling natin bagsak tayo, 85 pa rin 'yon. B+ pa rin 'yon, 'di ba? It's still better than the average. It's still something that people will say, "Uy, ang ganda nun ah."
Actually, tama, but also I don't know how to say this. We're in a fortunate space. We're in a fortunate market that there is no baseline.
So we set that baseline to be high.
We set that baseline to be high. Walang baseline, meaning the other suppliers or production teams would go back to how they would line item everything. And if you line item all the costs, hindi na siya ma-afford. Hindi naman sa ina-undercut natin sila, but because we're really passionate about this. That's the investment that we put into it as well. No, so the way that we understand those things, mataas na yung baseline. No, because they're coming from a position na wala pang nagko-cover sa kanila before.
Alright. Sige. And with that in mind, we go to one of the
The default question.
I guess one of the traditions within the podcast, wherein the last guest actually leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who it is.
Ano yung tinanong mo sa akin na galing sa ibang guest?
Hindi. So,
Curious ako.
so this one is... hanapin ko lang mabilis.
Sige.
This question comes from... Saan na yan? From our last guest, Pinky. Okay. Dahil lang. Hanapin ko lang. Ba't nawala?
Wala yung papel niya.
Wala yung papel ko. Nandyan ba? Ayun, ito.
Yeah.
Okay, sige. Cut. Tapos pick up dito. So, okay. In line with the tradition of our podcast wherein the last guest leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who it is.
Kahit sinabi mo na kung sino siya. Okay. Yung next guest ka. Okay.
So, ulitin ko lang. Yun yung cut. Ito yung ano.
Yun
Parang
na yung totoo.
nag-edit na ako sa utak ko. Okay. Okay. With that, I guess one of the traditions here in the podcast is that the last guest leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who it is. And this question comes from Pinky, who is the founder of Likha Collab, which is a platform for Filipino toxic-free products.
Panoorin niyo yung episode na yun.
And she asks, what is the one thing that you would like to leave as a legacy?
Parang mabilis ko na siyang nasagot sa ulo ko.
Go.
I think as a legacy, I'd want to make sure, or at least show people that an athlete actually grew from events that we've covered. No, so one of the goals, or at least the big overarching goals talaga for Upstream, is that it becomes an archive for athletes so that people will be inspired, but also document the story of an Olympian, or Olympic gold medalist, di ba, for that matter. Which medyo far off, although actually yung mga age group naman nila parang pwede papunta na doon. But crossing fingers, when they trace an athlete's story and his story or her story, matitrace nila sa Upstream na, nanalo siya ng competition dito.
Dito pa lang, banu pala siya. Pero kung nakita mong gumagaling
siya. Or,
until you eventually get there.
Yes.
Alright. Sige, with that, maybe you can leave a question for the next guest without knowing who it is. You can ask them whatever you want.
Oh my God. Ang hirap naman ito.
I got this from Steve Bartlett. Ganda. Ang ganda ng practice.
Galing.
Diba?
Kaya may micro-content ka na pag dugtong-dugtongin mo.
Exactly. Just one series na parang this question asks this, tuloy.
Ganun po kami mag-isip, kaya may Minsan Studio.
Okay. Okay. Simple, yet I think very, very apt. Especially in a field where you have to be passionate about the work that you do. And then, as this is part of Minsan Studio, and we just love music, that's one of the things we do. we always make a playlist. We're making a playlist of songs based on the personalities of the guest. So, based on that, what's one song you would like to add to our playlist? Ikaw na bahala sa criteria na yan. And we just want to know why you want to add that particular song.
Napatingin tuloy ako sa mga pinapakinggan. I was supposed to... alam ko na. Sige. Ano na lang. Ano pangalan nun? Fighting by... K-pop to eh. Wait lang.
Okay lang.
Si BSS. Fighting.
Okay.
Oo.
Why that song?
Well,
In
number one,
particular?
sinayaw namin yun ng wedding namin.
Okay.
But also, parang pang-rile up siya. Pang-energize lang.
So, pang-transfer ng hype.
ng
diba?
hype.
Ng excitement.
Pang-hype siya. So,
I mean, interesting na you danced that at your wedding.
yeah. Because fan si Abby. And then, natuwa din ako. So, why not? Diba? Pasok na lang natin dito.
But I guess it always goes back to one of your core ideologies, which is being able to, transfer the excitement of something. And this for you, I guess, is that song.
I guess it also sets the tone for season 2025 for Upstream Sports TV.
All right? We're excited to see what that is. Makikita nyo na lang sa page.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe also to our channel.
All right. Sige. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glenn. Salamat. All right.